Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the school committee meeting of March 28th, 2022. First on tonight's agenda, we have some acceptance of meeting minutes. We'll be looking for a motion to approve the meeting minutes of our school committee meeting of March 14th, 2022.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor? Thank you very much. And if it's okay with my colleagues on the committee, we'd like to entertain a motion to make a quick change to our agenda this evening. I'd suggest that we would move our curriculum quarter under item B to the top of our agenda here so that we can accommodate all these fine folks that we have here with us. We've got a house full of great kids and families here with us tonight. So in the interest of them being able to share their news with us tonight, we'll look to move them to the top. So we'll look to entertain a motion for that.
A motion to move curriculum corner to the front, to the top. And a second.
All those in favor? Well, that's a vote. Thank you very much. Dr. Cron.
I'd like to invite Rogers Middle School Principal Cheryl Shipper to the podium.
Good evening. Thank you so much. We are very excited to be here tonight. We have our 5th grade humanities teachers here with some of their fine students. Little history here. Humanities is a new class this year at Rogers Middle School. It used to be reading in 5th grade, and what we did was we took the reading standards of the curriculum and married them to the literacy standards of the curriculum. I'm sorry, I just said that. Literacy and history standards, and married them together and created humanities.
Hi, Dave.
So this is a first year running this course. The teachers have done a phenomenal job, and their students love the class. So they are here tonight for us. We have Ms. Tricia Trumbull and Ms. Julia Ferrante coming on up to introduce their students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to explain a few different kind of opportunities that we've had to teach our kids this year. So first, we're going to have Brianna, who is going to present our Roanoke escape room that we did. And then we will have Sarah present our tax collector activity.
Next, we will have Rafaela present our novel that we did for Term 2, which was Chains by Laurie Halls Anderson.
And then we are going to have Leo present about Black History Month. We did a vocabulary rap contest. Vocabulary is one of our videos that we subscribe to at the middle school, and talk about women in the revolution as well.
And then we will have Ella and Brandon present our specific class Friday schedules that we have. Each teacher does different things in their rooms on Fridays, all history related. So we're going to end with that, and then just what's next for our curriculum. So first we'll call up.
So first we'll have Brianna. You can come on up.
I'm sorry. I was coughing.
Welcome, Brianna.
We went to different stations around the room and looked at clues about the lost colony of Roanoke. To solve the mystery and escape the classroom, we worked in teams at each station. The winning group got a homework pass. This activity was an introduction to the founding of the new colonies.
Thank you so much.
Great job.
Thank you.
All right, and we have Sarah up next talking about our tax collector activity.
We acted out a slogan, no taxation without representation. Next, the tax collectors discussed the king and how much money they needed to be taken from the colonists. According to the ruling, example will give $500 if you're wearing green sneakers. After the laws were in place, the colonists counted how much money they had left. We found out the taxes were unfair for the colonists and not everyone paid the same. This was our introduction to our new government forming the 13 colonies.
Great job.
Next we have Rafaela for Chains, which was the first novel we read, Term 2.
Chains by Laurie Halse Anderson. This was our Term 2 novel. During Term 2, we all read this novel and introduced us to the roots of our nation. This text was about a young African-American slave, Isabel, who had a big voice during a time period when it was incorrect to speak up against others in a different social class. Isabel took us through her journey in early America. She was accompanied by her younger sister, Ruth. Throughout the novel, we completed numerous activities that included character analysis, journal diaries, the American Revolution, the Declaration of Independence, and the breakup letter with the colonists and the King George III. So many of us enjoyed this book so much that we went and bought the second sequel to Chains. One thing I liked a lot in Isabel because she protects her sister really much. She give her sister her life if she needs to. And I also bring this book called Ashes that I bought it. And I think it's really cool because it also tells a lot about Ruth's life. Thank you.
Excellent.
And we have Leo coming up talking about Black History and Women's History Month with a video that he made.
In February,
Don't be nervous. We're just moms and dads standing here.
Okay.
You got this.
born in 1760, I bet it was probably history. Father was lost in the sea, I guarantee. The mom was probably very calm, but couldn't support children, so Deborah had to go to another family as an indentured servant. Her life wasn't a fantasy. After that, did the aftermath because she was a teacher. Soon in 1782, she joined the war, had a disguise, dressed up to be like the guys. She blew the toys away, made them hide and scream in pain, helped the rebels win the war. After 2 years, she was in tears because the army found out she was a girl. I was surprised, although it was lying, but I'm happy Mr. Water wasn't involved, and now the problem is solved.
That was awesome. Good job.
That was so good.
In February, In February, we used a school-wide activity, Influential Icon Headband, during Spirit Week to write a rap about a prominent figure in Black history on Vocabulary's Lyrics Lab. We also remembered our women of the American Revolution in creative ways during the month of March.
Excellent. Nice
Well
job.
done.
And then we have Ella and Brandon for our Friday activities in the classroom. Ella will present for my class, and Brandon is presenting for Miss Ferrante's class.
Miss Trumbull has a Twitter account at ptrumbull304 where she posts pictures and reminders for us and our families. Vocabulary Fridays and class discussions about current events around the world and often how they relate to class in our everyday life. Reading stars for reading aloud and sensitives program run in the classroom and prizes that follow.
Miss Ferrante has a classroom Instagram account at Miss Ferrante where she posts pictures and reminders as well for students and families to encourage teacher, student, and family engagement. First chapter Friday. Each week, Miss Ferrante reads the first chapter from a novel in her library and discusses how the students liked it after. Sticker Stop. Mini Lesson Monday includes Shay's Rebellion, Women's in the Revolution, and the Articles of Confederation.
Thank you.
Great job.
And then this is a look inside both of our classrooms. So we both have classroom libraries, and we have a classroom constitution as well. So each kid signed our class constitution and came up with different rules and expectations for our classroom. And then Ms. Trumbull has a lot of our students' work outside in her room as well. And then on the top right-hand corner is a People in History board. So it has a lot of important figures that we see throughout history. So what's next? Today, actually, we did a mock trial in our classrooms, and we were debating the Virginia plan versus the New Jersey plan, and debating and discussing why these both were important parts of making our Constitution. And then in term 4, we are going to be reading a novel called An Island Far From Home by John Donahue, and it's a historical fiction novel, and it's set in the Civil War time era.
And then last but not least, we will be adding to our classroom journals. We keep journals inside of our classrooms where kids each day or each week add different activities to it, and that way at the end of the year we can kind of go back and look through all the things we've done throughout the year. So those are some pictures we took today in my class, and then us dressed up in our judge uniforms. And that's the end of the slideshow, I believe. Yes. If you guys have any questions for us?
Well, I think first of all, let's give a round of applause for these very talented and brilliant young men and women here.
Guys.
Before I turn it over to my colleagues for questions and comments, I just want to say great job. Really, I mean, you get up there, it's not easy to get up here in front of adults and read and in front of TV cameras, but boy, you guys did an awesome job, each and every single one of you. I know your parents are all super proud of you. We're all super proud of you. Outstanding, outstanding job. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleagues on the committee for any questions or comments that they have.
I'll just thank all the students for being here. Your enthusiasm for humanities is so palpable, so thank you for sharing with us and being so articulate and so brave to get up in front of all of us and tell us how great it is. And thank you to the teachers. I'm sure this was blazing a new path is never easy. I've heard lots of good stuff about the book. Is it... what was the book you guys
Chains.
read? Chains.
Yep.
Chains. Okay. I heard fabulous things about Chains, and I think it's such a great way for the kids to get excited about the literacy. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I would just like to add to Melissa's statement, just thank you, and I'm so glad to see some smiling faces here tonight.
Anyone else?
I guess thank you for the parents for bringing all your children in. It's great to see them here and smiling faces as well. I guess just one question maybe for you as teachers. How did it feel teaching this class for the first time? And, you know, what are your thoughts about next year?
We've definitely found throughout the year that we have adjustments we want to make already, but so far it's been awesome, and it's awesome to kind of get them introduced to history where it's like a new school for them and, you know, new subjects and things like that. So I think it's been very interesting for them to learn things that they haven't really learned before. So we've had an awesome time kind of joining English class and history class together. So.
And I also like to add on to that. I really like how we're able to kind of start from the ground up with this, and it's definitely a lot of work, but it's so much fun being able to kind of create and design, going off of the standards, what we feel that the kids will enjoy while they're learning too. So that's really cool that we kind of get to create this ourselves too.
So I happen to know some of these young men and women here. I have a fifth grader as well. My son Ronan goes to school with these guys, and I've been able to talk quite a bit with Ronan as he's come home this year about humanities. He's really enjoying it. It seems to me to be a really natural marriage of literacy and English along with history. It's sort of how we learn history is sort of naturally through written word and accounts, and this sort of seems to be a really natural way to interact those two topics. And having, you know, two different classes like that, I'm just interested from you guys as educators how you feel about sort of that mix. And, you know, where was your expertise prior to that? Was it in English or history, and how does that sort of come together, and how does that work for you guys?
I think it's nice because I feel like history and reading do mesh very well together. A lot of our important documents and primary sources we have obviously have to do with reading as well. So like we have been reading the Declaration of Independence, the preamble, Articles of Confederation, and a lot of primary sources from different presidents or figures in history. So it's definitely very easy to mesh the two because there is so much historical artifacts and sources that we have available to us. And then myself, I had an elementary education background and a master's degree in special ed. But it's interesting being able to kind of mix the history and the reading together.
It seems these guys are finding it quite interesting.
Yeah.
You guys like it? You can enjoy the class?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then for me, I have an elementary education degree as well, and I did go to school for English. So using that from what I was last year, because last year I was a 6th grade reading teacher, and then changing to 5th grade this year, I definitely found that in middle school it's important for, I think, the kids to know, and for us, that in history we're kind of teaching them how to read to learn. So in elementary school they're learning to read, and I would say now we're reading to learn. So I think that that's huge in this class, and it's been awesome to see them kind of growing as students and as now middle schoolers. So and Ronan was George Washington today.
Yeah, awesome. But it's like reading to learn and learning to read and together, right? But at the same time, then for these guys to be able to get up and come in front of adults again and articulate all of that, and for us to be able to hear a really cool rap song on YouTube, I'm going to have to go home and check that out. Who knew we had that talent around here, too? Great job. Well, thank you, everybody. Is there any other comments or questions from the committee?
I was just going to comment that you can tell how comfortable they are with you. I think that's a huge win right on your behalf with everything that the kids have been through in the last 2 years. You can just see they're nervous, but they're not with you. You know, they're nervous for us, but I love that they are completely comfortable with you. To me, as a school committee member, that's what I want. That's what we want for our kids, and we want you to obviously give them that, and you are. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So guys, listen, this is the end of this portion of the agenda of the school committee meeting. And I know what we do here is super exciting, and you probably want to stay here and just watch all of it. But I know you probably have some homework and dinner to get home to. So guys, don't feel like you have to stick around. You're certainly welcome to. But at this point, if you feel like heading home and starting the nighttime routine, you're welcome to do that too. Thank you so much. Great job. Thanks for being with us tonight. Let's give these guys one more. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Right,
Thank
yours
you.
wasn't, I feel like theirs wasn't quite right either. To jump in. They're waving, I think, to you.
I don't even know who's waving.
I don't know who they are, so they must be waving to you.
What's that?
I love Curriculum Corner. We should have Curriculum Corner every school committee.
I think it's scheduled of how many we have.
I got in trouble. I don't know what this isn't on, is it?
Is Melissa's mic on?
You had to turn mine on.
Underneath?
I'm sure Chris would say something.
Flip the bottom
just
over. Mine wasn't on, but he turned it on and then he switched it out. Maybe he thought it wasn't on.
Oh, now it's green.
They're waving to you, Dan. They wave to you.
All right, well, now moving back to the regular portion of tonight's agenda. Getting back to item 2 under audience. We're very lucky to have with us this evening our new athletic director, Mr. Dan Kimball. Welcome, Dan.
Good evening. I'm very excited to introduce Mr. Kimball tonight as the new athletic director. We had a pool of about 38 applicants for athletic director. I selected 5 to interview. Mr. Kimball came out as the clear best candidate for this position. He has ties to the Rockland community as a graduate of Rockland High School. He's also been one of the qualities I think that makes you an extraordinary athletic director is just being an exceptional teacher. He's taught in our SAIL program for the past 5 years, and he's an outstanding teacher. He's also been a very, very successful coach as the varsity soccer coach, and I'll let him tell you a little bit more about himself, but he's going to do a great job, so we're very excited to welcome you, Dan.
Welcome, Dan.
Thank you, John, very much. So as John indicated, I am a Rockland High School graduate. I graduated in 2010. I went on to Bridgewater State University, where I graduated in 2014. I actually started volunteering coaching at Rockland High School my junior year of college. My youngest brother was a freshman. He had been playing on the basketball team. I was just in the stands, and Coach Damon had indicated, "Hey, I heard you were commuting. Any interest in coming back and kind of helping out?" I was like, why not? I don't have anything else going on. So I helped out with basketball, and that was kind of my entry into helping out with soccer as well. And ultimately, I've been coaching the boys soccer team for 6 years, having our most successful season this season, which was really nice. But I'm really looking forward to the opportunity. Graz has done an excellent job, as have all of our coaches. We have a really talented pool of coaches here. So I think one of the things I'm really looking forward to is working with both students and coaches in a different capacity. It's really interesting, obviously, coaching and getting the pulse of the student body in that manner, but now being able to see both sides with girls' sports, boys' sports, being involved in the winter and the spring and not just the fall, something I'm really looking forward to. So.
Outstanding. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so
I know
much.
we're all really happy for you. As a neighbor and a fellow Rockland guy and a Rockland graduate who's very aware of our culture here and what it means to be from Rockland, you know sort of what a great job that Mr. Graziano's done in the years, and had the opportunity to work with him, I know, as a coach, really sort of gets you up to speed real quickly and gives you really a leg up as the new athletic director. And I know just from talking to folks around here when they heard the news, that people were really happy and really excited about this, as I know I am. So I'm really happy for you, and I wonder if you could just maybe speak a little bit about sort of what you hope to bring maybe different. I mean,
Yeah,
having
sure.
been here a long time and understand the Rockland community and sort of what it means to be a Bulldog, sort of what your sort of ideas of what you might put your own personal stamp on.
Absolutely. So I think what's really interesting, like you said, the Rockland ties, that's huge.
Yeah.
Being from the town and having so many teachers and educators and coaches that are from the town still here making an impact, it's huge for me. And something that I'll always remember is Coach Nick LaCour, who was our varsity football coach, was my first coach in 6th grade. He coached travel basketball. And him introducing us kind of to the high school game. That was the year that we won the state championship in 2004 at the high school level. So we were able to engage with the high school athletes, and that's something that I really want to improve upon is our relationship with the youth programs. So I'll be in constant communication with our youth presidents, and I really want to get more than just game day involvement, but especially game day involvement. I actually coached this winter in Pembroke for basketball, and one thing that they did that I loved was they had their travel teams playing at halftime. And I thought, what an unbelievable experience for these middle school kids who behind the bench were just so exuberant, so into the game, and then to be able to put on a show at halftime. And I think that's such a great experience for them. And just other ways of recognizing our youth programs and intertwining that within our high school programs, which are already fantastic. So that's one thing that I'm really looking forward to doing.
Great. That's awesome. Any questions or comments from the colleagues on the committee?
I do.
Mrs. Maroney.
First, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Graz has been here since I was in high school. I'm a Bulldog as well. So it is good to have him be able to sit back and enjoy his retirement and bring you on. I'm excited that you're a Bulldog too. I wondered if you were going to start doing things more electronically and getting into the day and age of things being tickets online and things like that.
Yeah, so we started using the GoFan app for the tournament games. I fully intend to, make a little bit more of an electronic advancement and do a lot of different things too as well in terms of social media, and a lot of schools do some great work with infographics. That's something that I've been working to do to improve our image in that respect as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to progressing in the electronic era as well, for sure, absolutely.
Not to leave out the people that don't have that or aren't, in that world, but I think most of us are there now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we are, again, Graz has done an awesome job
Right.
adapting. He's been excellent, of course. But
Right.
yeah, I think there are certainly things that we can do to improve in terms of communication with parents and
Exactly.
other things, and we'll
Right.
definitely make those advancements for sure.
Awesome. Good to hear it.
Thank you.
Anybody
That's
else?
all I have.
I'll also just say congratulations and say that clearly the bar has been set high, but I have no doubt that you will reach it and you will do great things, and we look forward to seeing what you will do for our kids.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and this isn't something that I take lightly. You know, Mr. Fisher was here for decades, and then obviously Mr. Graziano also here for decades. So this isn't something that I'm coming into willy-nilly or thinking that it's just another job. This is something that is, this is something I take extremely a great deal of pride in. So, and I appreciate the opportunity.
The names you brought up I think that's a great point too. I didn't have the pleasure to go to high school here. I went to another. We won't mention the name of the high school that I went to, but I'm very much aware of the amazing tradition and legacy that is here in the athletic programs in Rockland High School, whether it be the names of the coaches that you just mentioned. There's so many others. It's a really proud history from people that have lived here for a long time in their athletic programs, and as of recently, even the amount of success that's been enjoyed here on athletic fields and courts is really remarkable. So it's great that you have that institutional knowledge of all that and look to kind of keep that going forward while also sort of incorporating and respecting the great history and legacy that we have here. With that, anything else? Any other thoughts? Well, awesome. We're looking forward to seeing you around a lot, Dan.
Absolutely.
It's going to be exciting. I know we've got a lot of saw some young kids here. We've got the youth programs coming up, which are growing, and we're hoping to keep growing them. And I love your ideas about incorporating the youth programs. I think the ideas about the halftime is really great. I remember being a young athlete and a young kid being an athlete and thinking that high school athletes were like gods. They were like pro athletes to me, and that's what I wanted to do someday. And if we can get these kids hooked at a young age to keep that carrot at the end of the stick to stay in our programs, stay playing sports and activities for Rockland High School.
Yeah, that's incredibly important. Continuing that pipeline, having them understand that. And we've had successful student athletes. My soccer player, Tommy Gallagher, is going on to play Division II at American International. Julia Eli is going to play at Bentley. So this isn't a dead end. We have an extremely talented school that students are going on to prestigious universities. So that's something that we can obviously translate to the younger students that, we have a lot to offer here.
I agree. That's a great point, too, whether it be in the classroom or on the athletic fields.
Absolutely.
The kids in Rockland are able to get our world-class services in education and on our activities and fields and music programs. So I'm excited to have you on board.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Thank you so much. Okay, moving right on. Much less exciting, but equally as important. We have monthly reports for February. We have high school school department, high school student activities, high school, middle school student activities, and cafeteria. We'll be looking to get 4 motions and 4 votes on each of those. So we'll entertain 4 motions to approve the financial reports for February.
4 motions to approve.
4 seconds. 4 motions, and we have 4 seconds. All those in favor? That is a vote. Thank you very much. Next up, for your information, we have monthly reports for January and February. We have, actually, we need to take a vote on this, excuse me, not for your information. We have reports that we will be voting on. We have 17 reports that we'll be voting on, except we're looking for 17 motions. So let me take a deep breath while I get ready to read these out to you. We'll be looking to approve art, athletic, computer technology, dean, English 9 to 12, health physical education, math 9 to 12, music, radio, TV, science, social studies, special education, middle school for Mrs. Harris, middle school for Mr. Griffin, foreign language, library, and daycare. We'll entertain 17 motions.
17 motions to approve.
We have 17 motions.
17 seconds.
And 17 seconds. All those in favor? Thank you very much. That is a vote. Next on tonight's agenda. Pardon me, I just moved my agenda. All right, next on tonight's agenda is new business. We have a request for, old business. We have a budget update. I'll turn this over to Mrs. Hackett.
Good evening, everyone. Very brief budget update this evening. Mr. Biggins and I were able to attend the FinCom meeting last Wednesday night. Presented the school department's proposed FY 23 budget. We're waiting for this. We're going to be forwarding some questions. We haven't received those as yet, and they'll be meeting again this Wednesday night, we believe, to vote the budget out of FinCom. That was all I had for that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee? With that, we'll move on to item B under old business, which is EEC vouchers, and I'll also turn that over to Mrs. Hackett.
Thank you again. EEC vouchers, this is something that we just wanted to put on your radar. I had mentioned pre-COVID or right around the beginning of COVID that we were having difficulty with the EEC. The EEC has shifted its focus from wanting to be a regulatory agency within school departments to being simply a private daycare entity. And as such, they have a lot of regulation rules, policies, and procedures that don't necessarily apply to school departments. We need to decide by June 30th of this year if we're going to continue to try to be an EEC venue. The only benefit of us remaining an EEC venue would be keeping vouchers. So we're in the process of doing a financial analysis of what the loss of those vouchers would be. However, we have absolutely positively every intention of keeping every student who is involved with the voucher participating in any and all of Rockland programs. But we may need to do it without EEC voucher programs and come up with our own scholarship process, etc. So there's going to be a lot more coming on that, with sort of bringing it into the next, into the new business, if I could potentially merge two agenda items together on the with our summer program. We need to decide by June 30th.
So is that for the daycare? That's for the
Excellent
preschool
question.
program?
It is for the daycare, and it is for our before and after school program. And to my knowledge, we are the last school district still standing with the EEC.
Okay.
All others have left. I do not know of another district that's still involved with the EEC. All others have had off-ramp plans and strategies, which is good for us because we can learn from them, and sort of take their best practices and their best outcomes and apply them to our own, if that's the option we decide to choose.
And what percentage of our current students would be affected by participating or not participating?
44 students.
What
Not
percentage?
44% divided by 2,200. I don't do math in my
Okay,
head.
small number. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yes,
is
it is a
2%?
correct small percentage, but a huge bang for the buck.
Right.
And the opportunity that it affords these children, and we do not want to minimize that opportunity
Small
at
number,
all.
but still 44 families that depend on those vouchers.
That's right.
So we need to find to mitigate that.
No.
But you said that there was an opportunity to look at our own scholarship programs and things like that.
And that's what we want.
Yeah.
And we have this summer solved.
Okay.
I already have this, Mercy Baldessari, Janet Tate, Rebecca Kidwell, and I already have a plan in place for this summer that we know is viable, that would keep everyone involved in our summer camp and enrichment program.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. That being said, we'll move on to item C, to our COVID update. And again, I expect I'll be turning it over to you.
Yes,
Ms.
sorry, still me and still COVID a little bit. Slight uptick, I'm sure you're probably seeing it a little bit as well, but minimal. It seems contained to the middle school. We're up to 6 cases, but we have had 17 over the course of the past week. 2 at the Jefferson Elementary and the rest at the middle school. Both staff and kiddos, we're going to be sending out a new edition update tomorrow, letting folks know we're still participating in the testing, the at-home testing program, and kiddos are getting their test kits the previous week, and we're hoping that they're testing and self-screening on Sunday evenings, as is staff. But a slight uptick, which is honestly to be expected, and I think we're going to be having them as we go forward, but we're still continuing in the least restrictive environment allowable, and to that end there are some new guidelines that have come out, and again we'll be sending these out tomorrow, but the quarantine period now for close contact outside of school has been reduced to 5 days at the state level. So we're no longer contact tracing in school, but contact tracing is still occurring for the unvaccinated outside of school, and if you're an unvaccinated close contact outside of school, your quarantine period has been reduced to 5 days. In addition, if you're symptomatic while at school with mild symptoms, you may remain in school with a negative rapid, which is our Buy Next Now program that we have, even if you are unvaccinated. previously you would have to be required to PCR and go home. Now you can stay with the negative rapid. So still more kids in school more often.
Perfect.
Questions, comments? My only comment would be, just basic observation. You see these numbers starting to kick up. It should be just a reminder to all of us to continue to be careful, continue to wash our hands, continue to try to be safe, whether it be from COVID or the flu or the cold. Maybe just a good reminder for us all to do our very best to take care of each other and to be safe and clean and all that good stuff too. With that being said, we'll move on from the COVID update to item D, to the Phelps Elementary School update. And I think Mrs. Davidson has some things to share with us.
I would just like to announce that the project is still on schedule. We have spent 50% of the construction budget. It is about 50% wrapped in brick on the outside of the building. All windows have been tested and passed inspection. Some of the rooms are starting to even be painted, so it's starting to look like a school building. And we're still on schedule for January, and that's all I have.
Pretty amazing, really. Certain things, certain steps that happen that you just notice and sort of feel big, and it makes a big visual difference. The wrapping in brick in the windows, now that we're down there and you can see that, I mean, it actually looks like a beautiful,
building.
brand new school building now. Those big, beautiful windows, I can just imagine how much awesome light's going to be shining in those hallways for those kids. It's starting to take shape and be visible, so it's really, really cool to see. Anybody else have anything on the school building project?
I just wanted to comment on how incredible it is to still be on target for timeline and for budget, given everything with COVID has increased delays and costs. And if anybody's tried to have any homework done or homework done in their home, they've known how those costs and time have just, everything has been blown out of the water. So it's an incredible testament to the people that are running this project.
I agree, absolutely. Onward and upward, good stuff. Moving on, we have new business. Item A under new business, we have a request for Explorica trip to Quebec, and we have Mrs. Dory with us here tonight. Welcome.
Don't rush, don't rush.
How are you?
I'm well, thanks for having me. Happy to be on the agenda.
Nothing like taking your microphone and moving on.
So we're doing this a little bit back and forth. I thought I would give you guys just a quick intro to what I'm looking to having approved, and then my rep is on the laptop over there, and that's Amanda Blizzard, and she's going to help us from Explorica. So the trip that I've proposed is one that I've done, I think, 8 times or 7 times. Once here in Rockland in 2019 and several times in my previous school district. I brought it to school committee in 2020 to have it approved for 2021, and we know that there was not really any travel last year. So there's no changes to the curriculum. It's a 4-day trip where we would leave on a Thursday. It's for students enrolled in French. We'd leave on a Thursday, head up to Quebec City, arrive in the afternoon, and spend Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday coming back. And we go for their Winter Carnival celebration, so it's in February. And the dates I'm proposing are February 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of 2023.
Exciting. It's great.
It is. It's always a highlight, and I love traveling, and I love traveling with my students and putting them in those authentic environments where they have to really use what they've learned in class.
Yeah, foreign travels, I mean, I love foreign travel trips. It's great. It's an educational opportunity, but particularly for a foreign language program where they can go and actually utilize and use what they've learned in an immersive way. I think that's really great. Could you tell me about the Winter Carnival? What is that?
So they run it up in Quebec. I think it used to be 3 weeks. I think now it spans over a 2-week period. And basically, as you can imagine, the winter up in Quebec is very long. Sometimes it can start in October and it can go well into April. And so they have this celebration. It's probably tied a little bit with Mardi Gras, but it doesn't have the same dates. So Mardi Gras is usually after. But it's to get out and celebrate the winter. And so I'm always so inspired when I go up there to see how they embrace winter. Because here, it's like 20 degrees. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be home in my cozy house with a blanket, and then we go up there and everything we do is outside, and we're snowshoeing and dog sledding and tobogganing and tubing and visiting the ice hotel and a tubing park, and there's a museum built in there too, but they get to do all this and embrace it as well. which is a good lesson. You know, I did ski as a kid and gotten away from kind of the winter activities, but when I go up there, I swear I feel like a kid again when I'm doing some of the fun winter activities. So they celebrate, and they have all sorts of different stuff set up throughout the city. So they'll have different stages and live music. They have live parades. There's 2 parades at night that I've never been like a huge person for parades, and that one is really, really cool. Like, I actually look forward to it when we're up there and get the kids excited for it. What else do they do? Just a lot of the specific things to Quebec. So at the Carnival Festival, they'll do the taffy, the maple syrup on the snow that turns into taffy. They twirl it and you get to try that. They'll have certain special foods and ice luges outside that you can sled down, and little team competitions and little games. And so it's not a carnival like you think here. There's a carnival that comes to town with lots of rides. It's a carnival that celebrates the winter and also gives them a taste into the culture, certainly, and the history of Quebec. And they're really proud of it. Like, the people of Quebec are Quebecois first and then Canadian second. Like, they are really, really proud of their French roots. And it shines through in this festival when we go.
Interesting. Any other questions?
I took French in high school and college, but don't ask me to speak anything. I wish I went to Quebec. I don't think we didn't go up there. The write-up and everything, the cost for the students includes breakfasts and dinners and all of that stuff. I think I saw on the itinerary. So everything is pretty much included in the upfront fee that the students would be paying.
I think there's 2 lunches that aren't included, and it's on the day on the way up and on the way home.
Okay.
And actually, I know there's usually a fondue lunch included. It's probably 1 lunch included, and they provide 3. Yeah. So I give them a heads up ahead of time. The on the way and on the way home is usually like a fast food stop somewhere near the border. And then one of the days they have a little free time at lunch where they can go off and explore and try something new, maybe poutine. Although that's kind of become an American thing too. I think people are familiar. And they also have the opportunity to do a fondue lunch, a traditional fondue lunch that we all go to. And then, yes, breakfast and dinners every day.
My other question, I think you said the minimum number was 14 students that you needed to sign up. What's the max you can take? And in your past experience, roughly how big is the group that's traveling?
Let's see. I think the biggest, and I'll defer to Amanda in a minute, but I think the biggest that I've had with the group is like 41. But I have a colleague who takes the trip that teaches at Hanover High School, and this year I think she had like a group of 46. So I think as long as there's a seat on the motor coach, we can do it. And the way I have it set up with Explorica is that for every 7 students we have a chaperone spot to go. So that's why I threw out the number 14, because it would always ensure that there were 2 chaperones, because I never want to take a group of students without another chaperone in case something should befall them or me.
And my final question, obviously it's open for 9th through 12th grade. Do you typically see a lot of freshmen going? And maybe the change with French being added to the middle school, do you think there'll be more freshmen going? Or
I would love to see it. In my previous school, we had a lot of, it was 8th grade even. I had 8th through 12th, so I even had some 8th graders go. Here, when I think about 2019, I did have some freshmen go, and they really wanted to go again. It's the senior, is it the senior class this year? Yeah, I think it's a senior class graduating this year. They're like, you're planning Quebec. We're not going to be there. Can we come back? So I do anticipate that we would have all grades.
Okay. That's it.
Can you talk a little bit about, and maybe this would be an appropriate question to hear from our representative too, what may happen in the event that a child would be injured or become sick or need to be accompanied to a hospital? Can you talk a little bit about what the contingency is for that, and what would happen as far as would an adult chaperone stay with them? Could you just talk a little bit about what that process might be?
Absolutely. So the tour director would also assist us, and I'll defer to Amanda in a minute, but he or she would help us find where is the nearest medical facility based on the needs of the student. And one of the chaperones, probably me as the lead chaperone, I would feel like that was my duty and responsibility to go with that student and leave the other chaperone with the group and the tour director. Okay. So that would be there. I always encourage that people take the insurance or the, what's a different word, I can't think, but it's like an insurance policy on it. So, but usually for Canada, American healthcare would cover as well. I'm going to put Amanda on. I'm going to carry the microphone over there too, because she will definitely have more to say on that one.
Great.
Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a new thing for us.
Hello, Amanda.
There she is.
Feedback, so I'm trying to catch everything.
There we are. We can hear you now.
Okay, so I know you were asking about what would happen on tour if someone were to get sick or injured or anything like that, and Julie went into that a little bit. We have a 24-hour emergency scene that's on the clock nonstop. The tour director, Julie, would actually contact them. From there, we go through the process of figuring out what kind of care is needed, getting them to the nearest medical facility, making sure a chaperone stays with them. As far as Julie mentioned, we have an optional travel protection that the travelers can purchase when they enroll on the trip. So that would cover them if they don't have any sort of health insurance otherwise. But most people, as Julie said, like their insurance would roll over if they're on a standard plan here in the United States. It would likely roll over for Canada as well. Did I miss anything else, or did that cover it?
It did cover it, but sort of a follow-up question, without knowing the situation on the ground in Canada. As we talked about a little bit earlier in our meeting, there has been a slight uptick in COVID. Should a student become positive while on the trip, what would be the contingency for that?
Yep, actually we had groups already traveling to Canada this season, so I've had some firsthand experience with that as well. As far as what would happen if they were, say, coming down with COVID type symptoms, we basically have a doctors on call team that has been helping assist us with any issues that arise. We would actually work on isolating the traveler, making sure there was a chaperone there to basically help establish and coordinate communication with the family of the participant. We arrange all the other stuff as far as quarantine isolation goes. We were covering the cost of all that while on tour. So we would help to make sure that the traveler got home safely. If it meant the parent came up there to get them or a chaperone traveled back with them, we basically work on it on a case-by-case basis. What's going to work best for the group and for the traveler to get everybody home safe and secure at that point.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mrs. Maroni?
I'm also wondering a bit about COVID. I mean, hopefully this is a year away and we don't really have that much going on. But what happens if we're up in Canada and Canada sort of shuts down, or we're here and we haven't left yet and it gets canceled? Do the kids get their money back? What happens that way?
Yep, so we put into place what we call our world-class flexibility. So if there were closures, government restrictions, regulations from traveling, we basically give the program leader, the school, the chance to decide what works best for the group. We can rebook the tour to later dates. I had that happen with a tour this past season, that they ended up pushing it back a month because they just weren't safe. They didn't feel good about going in February, so they waited till March to travel. So we worked with them to just basically change all of our reservations, push them back a month. I think there was one student that wasn't able to travel. The rest of them were all still able to go on the new dates. We have basically an exceptional circumstances policy if that were to happen. So anyone that had to cancel would have gotten a full refund less $149. With that caveat with the travel protection too, if they purchase the travel protection plan plus, that covers them a little bit more, where they would basically be refunded all monies that they had paid towards the trip, with the exception of the purchase of the travel insurance and the $75 fee. So they would actually get more money back that way if they were doing the travel protection plan. And honestly, like typically and in the past, I mean, it's a third party provider. We typically don't push people one way or the other. It's their own choice if they want to get the travel protection. This year I have been recommending it just for coverage purposes, because like you said, you don't know what's going on with everything with COVID. We do know that TripMate has been covering for COVID, and that's a company that we use for our insurance. So if a traveler were to become sick ahead of time or on tour, they were being covered for that and getting reimbursement.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I just have a question. So throughout the time when the students are in Quebec, is there a representative from your team with them the entire time, or just our chaperones?
Yep, there's a tour director that's with the group the whole time. So they're trained in first aid. They're trained. They go through a pretty rigorous training program for the company. So they're representative of the company, as well as we have our emergency on-call team as well. So yes, there's somebody on the ground. That tour director stays with the group the entire time, from the time they meet them upon their arrival into Quebec City until the time they leave. They stay at the hotel and they're with them and easily accessible the whole time.
Great, thank you.
And one thing they're really good about is meeting with us. So they'll sit down with the chaperones like the first day, just when we get there and the kids are checking into the hotel, and we'll go over everything together and exchange phone numbers and that stuff. So we always have contact, even if it's after hours. So they've been great about that.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you, Amanda, for being with us. Dr. Cron, just as we are getting ready to entertain a motion to approve this trip, do you have a recommendation?
Oh, I recommend we approve this trip. Absolutely.
So with that, we'll entertain a motion to approve the trip to Quebec.
Motion to approve the trip.
You have a motion?
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Again, thank you, Amanda, for being with us. Thank you, Mrs. Dorr, for being with us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you,
Sounds like a
Amanda.
great trip.
Thank you. You're welcome.
That's going to be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That worked.
Just for everybody watching at home, I don't know if you realize that Mr. Murphy, Mr. Cable Murphy, and Mr. Berniker are here working really hard. That went really, really smoothly, but I know that was not easy, and it was a lot of work for you guys. So thank you for making that work remotely like that, and thanks for all you guys do all the time.
Our pleasure. I would like to point out Mr. Wazuski was part of the team effort this evening as well.
Oh, he's waving.
Great job, Seth. Sorry.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to forget you, buddy. Great job. Thank you. Okay, next on tonight's agenda, we have our 2022-2023 school calendar. This is a first reading. We won't be voting on it tonight. But Dr. Cron, is there anything that you would like to talk about with it before we open up to questions or concerns from the committee?
Yeah, I just want to point out, beginning in September, one major change for this year's calendar as compared to years past is the state primary is being held on the 6th of September. Normally, we don't have school on the 2nd and the 5th, and it gives a 4-day weekend. So what we're looking at doing this year is having school on the 2nd, but not on the 6th. As you know, the school committee voted, and we have a policy that we do not have school when there is an active election going on, when we're doubling as a polling place. So in order to accommodate that, that's our answer to that. Other things in the calendar that we'll be working on over the next 2 weeks, actually, in between readings of this calendar, is we're working in committee to figure out exactly how we're going to manage all of the transitions to the new building next year. So beginning in January, we're looking at Memorial Park going to the Phelps School, and we're looking at how we're going to accommodate that move for the teachers so that they have time to pack up and then time to unpack on the other end. So we will have some conversations that will be in addition to what you're looking at that will be happening over the next 2 weeks, and I anticipate at our next meeting there will be a slightly amended version of this calendar that would include all of those moving pieces, but we're still working on them.
Excellent.
So other than that, we are looking at starting school about a week later than we have over the past few years. That does give a longer summer. So I know that that's something that our teachers union actually asked for, but I think that it's also something that is really good for families, and it has been an interesting school year, so I'm sure everyone is going to enjoy a nice long summer. But other than that, I don't know if there are any specific questions.
Are there any specific questions?
Well, I had a lot earlier, but I did talk to Ms. Kidwell this afternoon.
Yeah.
Things you probably already commented on, the Friday switch to having Tuesday off with the primary. The other thing to comment, there is a half day in September, which we don't typically have, that she denoted was for safety training.
Yes.
And recommended by our school resource office. And then just sort of clarifying some of the other dates. A lot of it is color coding, which is going to help, I think, parents understand when truly there are half days with parent-teacher conferences and all that stuff. So it looks busy and color-coded, but hopefully it will make sense when you get into the details of it. So, no other questions. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Small.
How the professional development days, I know it was really important for the teachers. Is this the same number as last year?
Yes.
More? Okay.
Same number.
Perfect.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Mrs. Davidson.
So in January, there's 2 weeks rotating no school and then a half day the same week.
Yes.
Would you ever consider switching the half day to the 12th and the 26th so it's not?
We considered it.
Okay.
We considered it, but then we thought of parents and families and their planning, and we thought keeping it consistent sort of outweighed the potential benefits of staggering them, just because I don't know, that was our thinking in keeping them the same.
I had asked that question of Ms. Kidwell as well, and if then you move it to the 2nd and 4th, you then bump up to 2 weeks in a row, because February, the next Thursday, you would have a half day, so you'd have 2 half-day weeks in a row as well. So I think consistency for parents is important. I know it does look interesting where those Monday holidays happen in the same week, which I think is somewhat typical of what we've endured in the past as well.
But I think Dr. Small made a comment too about those half days, and I just want to again sort of praise the committee and the district for its commitment to professional development. And I know the teachers appreciate the time. Their work is not getting any easier. It's not getting simpler. It's becoming more complex and more data-driven. And having time to collaborate and work across buildings and work together has really resulted in some remarkable achievements this year. And so I just again want to say thank you for being a district that is committed to professional development, and thank you to parents, because I understand that these half days are half days, and you have to figure out childcare on those half days. So I want you to know that we don't take that for granted, and we use this professional development time very carefully and wisely. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
I have one question, just bringing that up. And I think we did see it when the 4th grade teachers presented how important the professional development days are and the good work that they're using those for. And we'll see, I think the elementary school teachers will really need it in the next couple of years as they're integrating. Can you talk a little bit about, or maybe we could talk next time a little bit about the after-school availability for those half days and helping parents, and if parents are able to utilize the after-school program really just on those half days, if that's an option, just as we're bringing up the strain that may be on families.
Yeah, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, they can.
Right.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Maybe we can share that with the calendar.
A little bit more to offer that as an opportunity for those who aren't regular customers of that program. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
To expand that on.
And that's a great, to that point, and that point of information, it's a great piece of information to be able to have active and share it on our website, the school's website, as those times approach, so families can know that that's available and they can plan accordingly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank
and I would say maybe like as the calendar comes out, because I'm sure when people see the calendar come out, they get a little bit of and I have to take all these half days at work, sort of thought process. So maybe if that information is paired with it, that might help families be able to access it in real time.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Anything else on the calendar? Okay, we'll move in right on. We'll go on to item C. We have a request for approval for a Rockland Daycare Summer Program. Dr. Cron, Mrs. Hackett, do you have any comments or?
Sure. I think there's a one-page synopsis by Marissa Baldessari, but just to briefly summarize for those watching at home, the program does run from June 27th to August 19th. There's a 2-day, 6-hour-a-day minimum to participate in the program, and we'll be breaking it up this year into 2 separate subgroups, K-2 and grade 3 to 5, and we are going to continue to embed and expand our enrichment 2-hour of enrichment activities during the course of that day, and we'll be using a summer enrichment grant to help fund those enrichment and educational activities.
Excellent. I know they do a great job over there, and I know that they're moving more and more toward an education-based daycare, as you talked about, and what a great gift for the families that we have in this town to be able to have quality daycare at their disposal, and I know a lot of employees of the school department use that, and it's been a really important tool for families, working families in our town. So great job to everybody at the daycare. Anybody have any comments, questions about this agenda item?
Just one question. The hourly rate of the $7 per hour, has that changed since the past years, or is that?
It is something we're looking at, not necessarily for the summer program, but for the daycare program in the before and after school program in September. But yes, we did increase it last year.
Last year, okay. And then just calling out to the public as they see this as an option. But again, the free lunch is always offered as part of this program too, right?
That is correct. I failed to mention that this does participate in the free summer food grant program through Adele Leonard in Chartwell. So yes, free lunch is provided.
And who doesn't like free lunch? That's great.
I have one question. Since we were looking just at the school calendar and the school year is going to start a little bit later, is there any thought about extending the summer camp program an extra week or so?
I do not believe the staffing was available to do that.
Okay.
That they too wanted to take time off before they come, which is generally how they do it. Because a lot of the staff is the same, and they wanted to take a week or two off in the summer themselves.
Okay.
I'll certainly revisit it, but.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve the Rockland Daycare Summer Program?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor? That's a vote, and thank you very much. Next up, item D, we have a request for approval for Assistant Superintendent Rebecca Kidwell to have signature authority designation for expenditures. Dr. Cron, would you talk about this?
Yes, please. In my absence or in Mrs. Hackett's absence, we would like you to approve Assistant Superintendent Rebecca Kidwell to have signatory authority should she need to sign something in our absence.
Any concerns or questions about this agenda item? Mrs. Maroney?
I just wanted to add that Ms. Ferlizzi had this previously,
Yes.
and now we're just switching it to Mrs. Kidwell. It's
Correct.
not something new or invented.
Yep.
Correct.
So everyone knew. That's all.
All right.
Motion to approve approval?
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor? That's a vote. Thank you. Motion to approve approval. That's pretty good.
And I liked your peripheral vision. You saw she had her hand up like over here.
Community eligibility provision is the next item under item E under new business, CEP. Mrs. Hackett, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Thank you. Yes, this is our school lunch program. And unfortunately, the federal government has passed its budget without including the continuation of the free lunch program that we've enjoyed for the last 2 years. So what that means is, as things stand right now, we will be returning to, come the fall, following the summer program, we'll be returning to our previous lunch schedule where you'd have to be pre-certified for free or reduced lunch and go through a process, which is very disappointing to us. We've seen a significant increase in consumption in kiddos participating in breakfast, snack, and lunch since it's become free. And there is lobbying going forward, so this is, it's not necessarily a final decision, but we do need to prepare for this to be the final decision. So an additional program that exists for free lunch eligibility is the community eligibility provision, which says if a set portion of one of your schools is at X percentage of direct certification, meaning they participate in one or more assistance programs, that entire school can be eligible for free or reduced lunch. And we're hoping that could potentially be expanded to an entire tier of our school system or to the entire school system itself. There are financial ramifications of participating in the program to the district, and I believe to our provider that we're exploring as well. But the certification list will be coming out April 1st. So again, it's something we wanted to put on your radar as new business now. So it was in the pipeline, and you'd be familiar with it when it becomes old business, the next time it comes up after the direct lists come out. But two pretty significant programs being impacted to the same group who needs the services the most. And we want to make sure that you're aware of them as we become aware of them.
Thank you. What a shame that's going away, first of all. I think it's something that's been enjoyed and that kids and families have benefited from, especially in towns like ours. The idea that it could be taken away, the provision could be enjoyed by one district and not the rest of, or one school and not the rest of the district is particularly concerning. Food and nutrition equity within one community would seem to be something that we'd strive for. So it's sort of stinks that may be the case, but thank you for keeping us abreast of this. And any other questions from my colleagues here about it? All right. Thank you, Mrs. Hackett. Next up, under item 6, under new business, we have personnel information for the months of February and March. Dr. Cron, do you have anything that you would like to talk about here?
Just the fact that I'm getting old and we're hiring more and more former students. So not only are they here presenting in the evening, but they are being hired as coaches and teachers. So other than that, I have no comments about personnel.
Well, they're getting older, we're not.
Yes, is that it?
Right, that's it, I think.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Next up, under item 7, we have our superintendent's report. Dr. Cron.
Thank you. Last week, Rockland lost a great man, John Rogers. As most know, our middle school is named after Dr. John Rogers. Last week, we held a district-wide moment of silence in honor of Dr. Rogers, and we lowered our flags to half-staff. And I just want to say how much I appreciate him and everything that he did for this community and this town. I had the privilege of working closely with him on the building project of this building that we're in today. I know he was highly responsible for the development and building of our senior center, which is an incredible resource for our community. I believe I'm not mistaken to say that over 100 seniors have lunch there on a daily basis. And I know, having just gone to visit my own mother, who's 84 years old, that those senior centers are a lifeline. And so Dr. Rogers was a great man, and we will miss him, and he will always be remembered. So it's very strange for some reason, because he was superintendent. It's strange to me to be announcing his passing, but we will miss him, and that's all I have for superintendent's report.
Thank you. Next up on tonight's agenda, last but not least, we have our public service announcements. We'll start down at the end of the table with Dr. Small.
So I had the opportunity to see our fabulous middle schoolers and high schoolers perform Shrek the Musical this weekend. And I don't think there was a seat left for anybody. It was fantastic, the job the kids did. It was an inclusive production, and we enjoyed it so much, and enjoyed seeing the community out there to support our kids as well. So that was fabulous. And MCAS is coming, and so everybody just check the dates with your kids and make sure they're getting a good night's sleep and a good breakfast. And I think they're even allowed to bring some candy, at least in the middle school. They're allowed to bring some candy with them those dates. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mrs. Davidson.
I also had the opportunity to see Shrek on Friday night with Jamie. I thought it was a great performance. I enjoyed myself, and once again on Friday night the house was packed. Also, congratulations to Coach Newcomb on being named Coach of the Year. And tomorrow night is the Shamrock Classic, and I think Dan is representing the school committee on the court for us.
I'm going to be in Kansas City.
Okay.
I'm hoping to. Mrs. Hennessy.
As Ms. Davison and Dr. Small already said, the Shrek was a wonderful community opportunity. We do talk a lot about sports and academics, but the theater program is such a big, important part of our community as well. So it was great to see not only the students, but the parents and the the production crew, if you will, behind the scenes, people selling concessions and tickets. So it's not just thanks to the kids for all their hard work, but the people that make it happen as well. So thank you for everyone who attended, and can't wait to see what they put on next in the fall, right? The next one wouldn't be till the fall of this year. As Ms. Davison also said, the Shamrock Classic, I think a lot of us will be going. I won't be playing, maybe next year. I told Ms. Shipper that I was going to train a little. Won't be playing against my 8th grader then, but it's still a good, fun thing to come out and see. So I think tickets are available in lunches and potentially at the door, depending on if they sell out. Wanted to say good luck to all the spring sports that are kicking off, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Maroney.
Okay. I do have an 8th grader, and I am also not playing, but I will be cheering tomorrow. My best little cheerleader cheering Irish way that I have. I wanted to bring up the Twitter post that I saw Graz post about Julia Eli. I just thought this was outstanding, and I thought in Mr. Dick Phelps's way, he would want this to be said. Congratulations to this amazing young lady, Julia Eli, on being selected to the Herald All-Scholastic Basketball Dream Team. This is her second Herald selection this year. She's the first two-sport Herald All-Scholastic in our school's history and two-sport Player of the Year. So congratulations to Julia Eli. I also wanted to mention just some information about our guidance department and how hard they work for all of the students here in Rockland, not just the college-bound students, but also the trades students that we do have. Last year, due to COVID, we were not allowed to have outside visitors, so we didn't get to have recruiters come in to see the students and visitors, but they did have other means to be able to communicate with our students. So last year, students got this that as well. But this year, as of October 22nd, we did have various trade union representatives come in to speak to our students. They included reps from the electrical, plumbers, carpenters, sprinkler fitters, sheet metal, and operating engineers in the Iron Works Union. They discussed what a day on the job looks like, the benefits of joining various unions, and how they would sign up and apply. That information was sent home to every junior and senior for them to be able to attend. We also recognize at graduation all of the kids that go off to college, but also the students that join the military or choose to go straight into the workforce. We also offer the following opportunity to students for the ALF-CIO scholarship and labor programs. Every student, college-bound or trade-bound, is allowed to take this exam at the school and given the opportunity to receive one of these awards. The annual AFL-CIO scholarship and labor education program is in its 64th year. Through the program, the Massachusetts, here I go again, AFL-CIO and affiliated unions are proud to award financial resources to high school students pursuing trade unions programs or college university study. The Massachusetts AFL-CIO administers $500,000 of scholarships on behalf of unions and labor councils throughout the state. Individuals are awarded in the range of $5,000 to $16,000 for their award. So I just wanted to mention all that our guidance department here in Rockland High School is doing for not just the college kids. We discussed this when Dr. Harrison came, when we were discussing what the curriculum was, and we discussed then that we are all inclusive as far as making sure the kids are supported in their way of wherever they're choosing to be, that every child is different, and we recognize that, and we want to be here to support them. So I just wanted to mention some information and cheer on the guidance department for all they're doing for our students. That's all I have.
Excellent, thank you.
That was enough.
That's great. So most of what I wanted to say has been covered already. Great job, by the way. Top of the list, I think, as Dr. Cron shared about Dr. John Rogers. When I think about Dr. John Rogers, the word that comes to mind is impact. Really in every way. I mean, I don't know any segment of our demographic in Rockland that didn't benefit from Dr. Rogers' work in our community, whether it be children, students, whether it be senior citizens, whether it be veterans. He was really just a doer, and he was there for everybody. Dr. Cron mentioned a couple of the projects he was involved with, but I think the better question is, what project wasn't he involved with? I mean, any building project, any memorial project, anything that's really happened in Rockland in recent decades somehow had Dr. Rogers' fingerprint on it. That's something to be admired for all of us. Is the namesake of our middle school. He's a pretty special guy, and actually, before I ran for my first term on school committee, he was the first person that I invited out to lunch to ask his opinion on should I do this or not, or what are some important things that I should know, and he was very helpful to me in a personal way as well. So my condolences to his lovely wife Stella, and our whole community mourns over the loss of Dr. Rogers. On a lighter note, it's been brought up tonight about one of my favorite events. I like to call it our quintessential Rockland Schools event every year, which is the Shamrock Classic, which is really great news that we're able to get it back this year after a couple of years of being away due to the pandemic. It's an amazing event. I mean, for anybody who hasn't been to this thing, it's the amount of energy that's in this room and excitement from the middle school families, particularly the 8th grade guys and girls that get to play in this game. There's a lot of pride on the line. These kids want to beat the adults in the very worst way, and the adults, those of us that do play, and as you mentioned earlier, we're getting older and older. It's getting a little bit harder to win. I don't remember the last time we lost, but it's getting close, I think. Mrs. Davidson had shared that I may be playing in it. I intend to, but with my piece of getting older, my back is getting older with me, so I'm going to be a game time decision to see how I'm feeling on that. But I hope everybody who can get a ticket and come support that. It's a really great event. And then while we're, of course, talking about basketball, I wanted to make sure I congratulated Coach Mitchell and the girls varsity basketball team that made an amazing run and appearance in the state championship and fell really just seconds short and a couple of points short of a state championship this year. So what an amazing season by those girls and Coach Mitchell. So congratulations on a great season, and hopefully get right back there and win it again next year. But with that, that's all I've got for tonight. So the last thing for us to do tonight would be to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And we have that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? There's a vote. Thank you very much. Have a great night.